Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jeff Malinoff, and with me is Mark Souza yet again. We got some things to talk about in the world of football before we preview the AFC and NFC title games that are tomorrow. We're previewing them. So today, we're going to have some other things to talk about, such as people thinking on the Patriots staff, mainly one player, that they are underdogs. Mm-hmm. And then we also, sorry, I just laughed saying that. Then we talked to Jerry Jones crying foul in L.A. after their loss. And we also have some other, some sad news regarding a player not on the playoff team, but sad nonetheless. And what other things we need to talk about, we'll talk about. But first,
Jalen Hurts.
Oh, yes. We almost forgot
Nick
about that.
Bosa. We'll talk about Cowboys or Chargers. Which team is more likely to return to the playoffs next year? We'll talk about the Gumbo Bowl.
You like saying the Gumbo Bowl, don't you?
I think that should be a thing. How is that not a college bowl game, by the way? How's there not like the Gumbo Bowl?
The Gumbo's a food, and I don't think it has maybe the brand that makes that makes gumbo.
Yeah, that would be a cool bowl game, right?
It would be in New Orleans, right?
Yeah, for sure. It'd have to be in Louisiana somewhere.
Or like a jambalaya bowl in New Orleans.
See, I can get down with that. It's a lot better than some of these other names.
Like what? Give me the name you hate the most.
The Poinsettia Bowl.
Was that a real bowl?
Yeah. I don't know if that was this year, but I know that one sticks out.
I remember there's like a bowl game with like 30 different sponsors at one point.
There was what was it? It was a bowl game in Louisiana, which was weird. It was called something really weird.
The Louisiana Bowl?
It was like wasn't like the Cherubundi something bowl?
Probably.
I don't know.
There's been some crazy names. But anyways, let's go right off the bat with the New England Patriots. Who'd you say it was? It was Julian Edelman that was posting pictures on his Twitter selling a shirt that says "Bet Against Us" with the Patriots logo on it. And this is basically him saying they are underdogs for this game against the Chiefs, and that it seems like it's one of those shirts like you've been fighting being an underdog your entire season, and that is absolutely far from the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Julian Edelman is now championing this comment by Tom Brady about how everybody's betting against. What did Tom Brady say after the game? Say, "Oh, everybody just thinks we're bad now. Like we can't win any games." Blah blah blah. Who cares what you're saying? Anyways, Julian Edelman is now selling a shirt that says "Bet Against Us," and it's in the middle of the outline of the Patriots logo on the helmet. So
unbelievable.
Without the detail of the, I guess, middle part of the logo, it just says "Bet Against Us." Yes.
I cannot believe that this is now, like, they're not the Eagles of last year. You know what I mean? Like, the Eagles of last year, no one thought in their wildest dreams they would win the Super Bowl.
I got the winner for the bowl game.
Who?
The Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl. That was...
The Bad Boys?
Bad Boy Mowers.
Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl.
See, it can replace that one. Or the Makers Wanted Bahamas Bowl.
I would love to play in the Bahamas, so I have no problem having a Bahamas Bowl. Just a different sponsor, please.
Yeah. There was the Bitcoin St. Petersburg Bowl, which was in 2014.
There was a Bitcoin Bowl?
2014, well before the time where Bitcoin blew up.
And then get destroyed.
The Beef O'Brady Bowl.
I remember that one. I love that. That was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, really? Beef O'Brady?
What about in 2015? Where you were going to Arizona back then, right?
Yes, that was my sophomore year.
But Arizona State's where they have the Fiesta Bowl, right? Is it Arizona State?
It's at the University of Phoenix Stadium, yeah.
The Battle Frog Fiesta Bowl was what it was called in 2015.
Was it? I'm pretty sure in 2014 it was the Vizio Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah.
It was called the Battle Frog Fiesta Bowl?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't sound nearly as sexy as
the
Cheribundi
Tart Cherry Boca Raton Bowl was the one I was talking about.
The Boca Raton, that's right. And talk about some stupid names.
Anyways.
But it's all about the money.
What's up with the Patriots playing this thing up? We got to talk about it. They're just playing this underdog role. You're not the underdog. You're pretty much the evil empire.
You haven't been the underdog since your first Super Bowl appearance against the Rams in 2001. The first Brady Super Bowl appearance.
The Patriots are the current evil empire of the NFL, right? So when you watch Star Wars, is
Emperor
Darth Vader
Palpatine.
Is Darth Vader the underdog? No, he's the villain, but he's not the underdog. He's the heavy
Emperor
favorite.
Palpatine the underdog? No.
The Resistance, right? They're the underdog.
The Chiefs are the underdog. Well, not yeah.
I mean,
but the Chiefs are making like they're
not technically, but
it's like the Revenge of the Sith, where like they're gonna win or they might win. They have a good chance of winning, but you never know what's gonna happen at the end. But they're
basically,
strong.
Patrick Mahomes is Luke Skywalker.
Yes, absolutely. That makes perfect sense.
He's like young, and
that means Brady's his father.
Brady's Darth. I can see this happening. I think
Mahomes.
Is this game on CBS? I think they need to play this up. I think they need to have like a 15-minute short film where Brady is Vader.
It's not gonna happen.
Mahomes is Luke. Who else?
Who's Han Solo?
Well, what's his name?
Andy Reid is Chewbacca.
Bill Belichick's definitely Palpatine.
Oh no, that's no question. Han Solo is Tyreek Hill. No. Yeah, Tyreek Hill makes sense. Buddies, like they're partners. Princess Leia would be Andy Reid.
Chewbacca is Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce's Chewbacca.
I hate
He's
to be
big, burly, tight end.
Is Andy Reid Princess Leia?
No.
Or the dude that goes, "It's a trap."
Andy Reid is Obi-Wan.
Ooh, Ben Kenobi. I like it.
Yes.
I like that. I'm not going to say he's Jabba the Hutt because that's too mean. And he's not that
That's
significant.
too easy, too.
Yeah,
like that,
exactly.
Come on.
And he's not a significant character in the whole series.
Nope. Plus, Jabba's a bad guy.
Yeah, he is.
He can't be. He can't. Andy.
So
the Chiefs are the good guys here, right?
If Vance Wilfork was still on the Patriots, he would be Jabba the Hutt.
Is Jabba the Hutt? What's Gronk? Is he Gronk?
Gronk would be
I was gonna say Boba Fett
because he dies quickly.
Oh God.
I'm not saying he's gonna die quickly. I'm just saying he's gonna be immobilized quickly.
All right, so let's recap. Tom Brady is Darth Vader.
Duh.
Bill Belichick is Palpatine.
Easy.
Luke Skywalker is definitely Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, 100%. Han Solo is Tyreek Hill.
Andy Reid is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, yeah.
Who else do we get?
Tyreek Hill is Han Solo.
Okay.
Boba Fett is Gronk.
Because he is a bounty hunter.
Yeah.
This makes sense.
Kareem Hunt is the...
Kareem Hunt's not in the game.
No. Listen, hear me out. He's the guy that got his arms cut off in the first movie, where he's like, he doesn't like you. I don't like you. And they get in a fight with Luke, and he cuts his arm off.
Gotcha.
Or he's the guy Han shoots in the first one. He's one of those guys that makes a very brief appearance, but you think he's gonna be a big part of the movie.
If CBS hasn't done this, I mean, you can pay us a few bucks, and we'll do it.
I'll give us like $30. We'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah. So, anyways,
did we go off track a little bit?
We did, but it's okay because Patriots are not the damn underdogs. We just need to say it.
Oh, absolutely not. They're not.
They're underdogs in terms of betting. Yes.
In Vegas, they are the 3-point underdogs, but in reality, they are anything but the underdogs.
If they were at home, they'd be the favorite, guaranteed. I guarantee it.
Only reason they're underdogs is at Arrowhead. I completely agree.
They've beaten the Chiefs this year. They have the history, the playoff experience. They have all the metal that you need to be the favorite. The only thing is
not home.
Now, I guess we got to talk about it, though. Does the weather play into the Patriots' hands or the Chiefs' hands?
How the Chiefs played in the cold last week? No.
I think the Patriots played in pretty cold weather too, and they just did.
I think it's not. I don't think it's. I think it's just. It doesn't matter. I think it's gonna play a fact.
I think the Patriots are going to benefit.
Well, they both
much.
play in the cold.
They do play in the cold, but I think the Patriots' game is more conducive to the cold because
The short passing game?
the short passing game, we talked about it, death by a million paper cuts with them.
And
short
Mahomes
passing
is anything
game,
but that.
Short passing game. Tyreek Hill needs the long passing game. Like he needs to be involved in big plays.
He is a very dangerous deep passer. Want me to read you some things?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's some things I want to just read about Patrick Mahomes' stats when it comes to the deep ball. If I can pull it back up because my phone is being stupid.
The deep ball's been, it seems like every time he throws it to Hill, he gets it.
Okay, so deep attempt percentage, he is 15.1%. That's third in the NFL. Completions, he's had 94 attempts, 35 completions. That's first.
Over like 20 yards? Is that what this is?
Deep pass, just deep passing.
I think that's probably where
Yeah.
they call it over 20, over 25. Okay.
And he's first in the NFL in that. Passing yards, just based off deep passing, I guess, is 1,279. That's first in the NFL. And touchdowns off 20 yards or more, so we'll just continue with that, is 13. Tied for first. So
it's a lot of big plays.
And for the Patriots defense, deep completion percentage allowed, 24.2%. That's first in the NFL. This is a battle of the deep ball, and they're both the best defensively and offensively.
I just think the Patriots defensively are a little bit more suited for this game.
So you're saying they're not the underdog?
They are not the underdog. They are betting-wise, absolutely, because they're the road team. But I think that if we really do get a Arctic blast, quote-unquote, that's what we've been hearing, I really think...
Sounds like a move from a Pokemon.
I just think the worse the conditions, the better for the Patriots. I really do, because Andy Reid's offense is not so much smash mouth, and I think the Patriots' offense can be when it needs to be. And I think Andy Reid relies on a lot of movement, lateral movement. It's going to be, I think the field is going to be very slick. Yeah, we know that they have, heaters underneath the field. We know that the field is better conditioned in 2019 to handle cold than it was during the Ice Bowls, 60s, 70s, and all that. We get that, but it's still freezing cold. Like, it still could be like -5 degrees. I don't care how many heaters you have underneath the field. It's going to be absolutely concrete that they're running
I would not. If I'm in the Kansas City area, I'd be debating whether to go to this game or not based on the cold. I'm like, do I want to freeze my butt off?
I was hearing yesterday somebody, I don't know if I heard it or read it, but somebody said that if they were given a free ticket on the 50-yard line of this game, they would not go. Mm-hmm. And they're a Chiefs fan because of the conditions.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I don't know. This game is pretty crucial.
We don't know, though, because the weather could be different. What they're expecting is a storm, but if that storm doesn't happen, you'd be looking at probably temperatures in the 20s, temperatures in the teens, which is very cold, but it's different. It's not. I'll tell you, man. I've been in. What's the coldest you've ever been in? Let me ask you that. What is the absolute coldest temperature that you've ever been in?
I would say it's got to be in the 20s or teens.
Okay, and what was that? Like maybe Lake Tahoe or something like that. Okay, I've been there many times. Once upon a time, I was in Iowa in January. One night, it was -20 degrees. It was only over 0 degrees one day of the 7 that I was there. And I'll tell you right now, it did not feel anything like what you think Tahoe feels like. Like, it was noticeably worse. Noticeably. You kind of think like, hey, if it's really cold, it's really cold. I'll tell you, man, -10, -5 is so much worse than 15 or 20 degrees. So much worse. I can't even describe it to you. I guess it would kind of be the difference between 100 degrees and 120 degrees.
Yeah, it's...
I guess that's kind of the difference. Like, if I had to compare it, it's just, you can't even do anything. Your body doesn't...
You're frozen solid is basically
your
what you're
body
saying.
doesn't react well to that harsh of a temperature. Either way, hot or cold. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens with this weather. But let's go back to the whole underdog crap. I get it. The Patriots are playing this up. The Patriots are trying to motivate themselves any way possible. They like to win, blah, 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 blah. Who's a more hated NFL football team, The Patriots or the Dallas Cowboys?
Right now, currently, I'm going to have to say Patriots.
Mm-hmm. The Cowboys, we saw the haters be awoken this year because the Cowboys did pretty well. They won a playoff game. They came up short, but, they got back to relevance,
Quote-unquote.
Which brought out their fans. We know the Dallas fans are very loud and proud. Patriots fans, same way, but Dallas Cowboys are just more of a national brand, right?
Yeah,
the Dallas Cowboys.
You can even say global.
I think they're America's team still. I know that it's been a while since they've been a winning franchise, like in terms of, being the premier Super Bowl winning franchise, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But they're still America's team. I mean, you go around the world, Cowboys hats, the star.
It's like the Yankees hats. You see those everywhere around the world.
You see Cowboys fans with the tattoos. I know Cowboys fans with
You mean
the
when they
star.
say Super Bowl champions in a certain year and they don't win?
No.
That is my least favorite tattoo of anything in the world. When you say they're going to win the Super Bowl and you take a tattoo before the season even begins.
Let me ask you a question. What team's logo do you think is tattooed on more people in the NFL? Would it be the Cowboys logo or would it be someone else?
Oh, Cowboys, 100%.
What about Raiders? Tattoos?
That's a close second.
There's a lot of
I'm going to say
Raiders.
Cowboys is first because of the fact it's just a star. It's easier to do.
It's easier to do.
Mm-hmm.
Patriots. Will they still be a hated franchise once Belichick and Brady retire?
Not as hated. Unless they
People
win.
will still kind of hate them, but they won't be like as much, right?
Unless they actually win. Then you're hated again.
So what do you think about this? Do you think this is eye-rolling? This
absolutely, 100%
Underdog
eye-rolling.
talk, this Edelman with the shirts, bet against us, all that.
Oh, yeah. Eye-rolling completely.
Are you annoyed by it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a little irritated. Just the fact that it's like
his post-game press conference, I felt like was staged.
Yeah.
Like he knew what he was going to say.
You are anything but the underdog, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you ate the underdog. You're the overdog. Can I get you a little bit?
What do you say we head to a break? We come back. We'll talk about the Gumbo Bowl a little bit, the NFC Championship game. We'll talk about Jerry Jones. We'll shift it to Cowboys. We'll talk about him blaming the turf in Los Angeles. We'll talk about who is likely to be back next year, Cowboys or Chargers. We'll do that when we return.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back, everyone, to the GSMC Football Podcast. We just left off talking about the Patriots, and unshockingly, we keep talking about them because they're always relevant at this time of the year. But anyways, let's move on to other talks. We got the Gumbo Bowl that you love to call it. And why do you call it? Let's ask the audience. Let's explain to the audience why you call it the Gumbo Bowl.
Just because of the feud between Sean Payton and Marcus Peters after their matchup earlier in the season. Sean Payton described to the media how they really liked the matchup with Marcus Peters covering Michael Thomas, and that they were looking to exploit that. Where Marcus Peters didn't really like those comments, he took exception to it, and deservedly so, because I think Sean Payton was kind of being...
That was a shot at him, for sure.
Yeah, he knew what he was doing. Like
getting in his head.
A lot of times it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And you'll learn this when you get married one day, Jeff. It's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? Like, you can get your point across, it's just how you come across, right? You need to think about the words. Like, you need to think about how you position the words in a sentence before you say them, or else you could be in the doghouse pretty quick. I'm just letting you know. It's good sage
I'm assuming
advice.
this has happened to you on occasion.
This is sage advice right now.
So this has happened to you on occasion.
But don't you think this is kind of words to live by? It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Trust me, I've learned that a lot.
I mean, for example, if a prospective employer were to ask you a question and you're describing, I don't know, a past employment or something like that, you can say something that could totally rub them the wrong way, or you could tell them something that's totally fine, and it could be the same thing. It's just how you describe that situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So, going back to the Sean Payton thing, you know as well as I know, he was taking a shot at Marcus Peters.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Marcus Peters knew. He's no dummy. He's been around the block a few times. He knows when somebody's coming at him, right? And he said, that he couldn't wait to see Sean Payton next. That he liked all that good, stuff that Payton was talking on the sideline too, and he can't wait to see him again so they can have a big old bowl of gumbo together. Which means, I don't think they're gonna have dinner. I don't think
there's actually going to be gumbo, even though that sounds delicious. I'm going to say honestly, I don't think anything's gonna happen. I just think a lot of trash talking is gonna go down.
So there was a reporter who asked Sean Payton yesterday if he prefers chicken and sausage gumbo or seafood gumbo, and he said, "I'm not a fan of seafood, and I know exactly where you're going with this question." So I thought that was
shut up! I know what you're talking about. Just stop talking.
Both men in question, though, say it's kind of water under the bridge. Marcus Peters said it. Sean McVay joked about it. Sean McVay joked about having soup, and it was definitely in relation to the gumbo chatter. So we got to talk about it. Gumbo Bowl, Jeff, is the Gumbo Bowl? Should the Gumbo Bowl be a bowl game in college football? How is it not?
Because it's not a sponsored name.
But they have the Cheribundi Cherry Cola Boca Raton Bowl or whatever it's called.
That's a sponsor name.
They should be the Cheribundi.
Is there
Gumbo
one
Boca
particular one particular brand of gumbo that everyone knows?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think so. No, I mean, we're on the West Coast, so there probably is. But we just regionally biased here, regionally located. We don't know about it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We get good food out in California, though.
Yeah, we do.
Can't sleep on it.
It's like tri-tip.
Oh, yeah, California tri-tip, man.
Oh, we gotta stop talking about food.
That was invented in California, that cut of meat. You know that?
God bless America.
Isn't that weird?
Mm-hmm.
Is that weird to hear?
No.
I mean, it is, right? Like, how did some people from Santa Maria, California decide that the tri-tip region of the cow was awesome, and that's what they were going to do? That's how they were going to cut that particular meat, but no one else really thought. I don't know. It just seems like weird to me.
It's because God smiled upon us and said we deserve this.
Isn't that funny, though, that like here we just noticed tri-tip, but everywhere else it's like really hard to get, and it's called California tri-tip or Santa Maria tri-tip?
You know, my brother lives in Nashville, and he was asking if they had tri-tip at a market, and they had no idea what he was talking about.
When I watch like those food shows, like Anthony Bourdain and other places, when they talk about barbecue, they do, when they're in like the South, they will talk about how like there's one guy who's able to order tri-tip. Like it's so hard to get. Where like here you just go to Rayleigh's or Safeway and there's tri-tip. Like you can get tri-tip. You can probably get it at the damn gas station, to be honest with you. You can get
don't get your gas. Don't get tri-tip at a gas station, please.
You're right. Get sushi from the gas station instead.
That just made me sick just talking about it. That's gross.
All right, so Jerry Jones is blaming the turf in L.A. He said that the Cowboys had problems finding their footing, which led to them, I guess, maybe not being able to stop 588-pound C.J. Anderson. Is that how much he weighs now?
I don't know. There was actually someone posted I thought was pretty mean on, I think it was either Twitter or Instagram, the most rushing yards ever by an offensive lineman.
I like that.
It was a little mean. Little mean,
That
but
got me.
I understand it.
Nope, that made me cackle. I like it. That's a 10. So Jerry Jones blaming the turf. What is it with this guy, man? Like,
He can't accept the loss, can he?
can he just shut up? Can he?
Nope. He unfortunately cannot because that's not what he's about.
I think it was more than just the turf.
Do you think so?
I mean,
Do you think it was the team?
honestly, weren't the Cowboys the second best team in that game? Honestly, like, weren't they the second best team on that field?
Yeah.
So what are we doing here?
You can even
Like,
say third.
One thing though that's been underreported is that the Rams, some players of the Rams said that they were able to know what the Cowboys were doing defensively based on their defensive calls. That they were able to know where that's basically the reason why they were able to run the ball so well, is that they knew which holes would be open, which players to exploit.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, they just were better planned against the Cowboys than the Cowboys were against the Rams. I think it's just...
So Jerry Jones said, we frankly had never gotten traction. I mean that literally. There was a slippery field. If I had to do it again, we would be really scrutinizing our footwear, our cleats. We had trouble digging in, so to speak. Well, you say that's an excuse. It's not, because not only physically, but we had trouble digging in with just the effectiveness of our defense, and we did not stop them, and we did not stop the run. Sounds pretty salty there.
Yeah, that is pretty salty.
I thought the field was pretty good, don't you think?
Yeah, I didn't see any. It's LA Coliseum, so it's usually up to
I mean, it looked
par.
fine. Like, did you, when you watched the game, were you like, man, that field sucks, or like that field looks...
I didn't even notice. It wasn't like...
Yeah, if we would have noticed if the field was bad.
It wasn't even a thought of conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was just like, oh.
Now, there was rain in L.A. leading up to the game, but they had the tarp over it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how wet it got.
The only thing I could actually think, first thought the end of my mind that wasn't about the game was, oh, the Rams are using their default jerseys. They're not default jerseys, they're alternate jerseys.
Which they should use all the time, I feel like.
Yeah, which are awesome.
The Rams need to get away from that gold color. When they use the yellow and the blue, it's way better.
It's so
the
gorgeous.
yellow, blue, and white is way better than the gold, blue, and white.
I've heard that they're waiting for their new stadium to open to get new jerseys. That's the talk around it.
That seems like yeah, I've heard that too, but that seems weird, doesn't it?
I think there's a policy about changing jerseys and helmets.
Like these jerseys, the white ones?
They're gross.
No. The blue ones? Nice.
When they changed it originally, I thought, oh, gold. It looked cool at first, but then I got bored of it really quickly.
They should wear the blue and yellow, and then their white ones should be the white and blue. Don't you think?
Yeah.
The white and blue with the white and blue helmet?
Oh.
The old school
I love
one.
the white helmets. Don't get me wrong. The white helmets are awesome, but the jerseys just don't go with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the reason, like I said...
where are the white helmets? Where are the white helmets on the blue?
Well,
and gold?
because they're playing a team that wears white, and they had a home team that used white, so they had to change it.
It's just funny. Like, they're using helmets that don't match the damn uniform.
Oh, it's gross. But I think, like I said, I think they're waiting to change the uniforms for their new stadium.
Yeah, the blue and yellow look just way better.
Blue, like, they just changed the logo from white to
I'm
yellow.
not even a fan of blue, but that's a nice blue.
Oh, it's a gorgeous blue. Gorgeous blue.
You're like fawning over these things.
Oh, it's one of my favorite. It's my favorite jersey in the NFL by far. That and the 49ers alternates about the 94 team. Those
whites.
Those were so gorgeous as well. But but the Rams jerseys are my favorites.
What about the red alternate Niner jersey in '94 with the black? The white numbers with the black
I thought it was
background?
all right, but the white just looks so much slicker. White on white. I love white on white.
So I got to ask you, if you had $100 to bet and you only could bet it on one of these two teams to make it back to the playoffs next year,
Cowboys or Patriots?
Cowboys or Chargers?
Chargers.
Chargers for sure.
No doubt in my mind.
What about the fact that the Chargers are what division would you say is tougher? The NFC East or the AFC West? Which is tougher?
AFC West.
Really?
There's two teams better than every single team in the NFC East.
Right. But then there's also two really bad teams. Whereas like the NFC East,
the Broncos have some life in them at the beginning of the season.
So like the Redskins, obviously their season changed when Alex Smith got hurt. But if the Redskins have, let's say, Nick Foles, Let's just say the Redskins or the Giants have Nick Foles. Let's say Nick Foles is a quarterback of one of those two teams next year.
Okay.
Which division is tougher?
That's a tough one because there's so much that the Giants and the
Eagles are going to be like a problem, right? Like they're going to be a good team. They're a well-coached team.
Yeah. The Giants need way more than just another quarterback, and the Redskins need a lot more than just a quarterback.
But they were really good when they had a decent quarterback.
Yeah.
They were winning the division.
But they were giving up a lot of points in those games.
But they not early on. They let's be honest. The Redskins would have won their division if Alex Smith never
I
got
agree with
hurt.
that.
Like probably ran away with it, right? They were up by 2 games when Alex Smith got hurt, I believe.
Very true. And of course we'll never know, unfortunately.
We will never know.
But if Nick Foles goes to the Redskins, then yes, I might have to change my answer. But right now, the best division is the AFC West.
Between the two.
Yeah.
Because the AFC West, yeah, I get it. They're top
Because the
heavy.
Broncos can make a comeback because they played okay. They had a lot of positives this season, all things considered. Raiders are obviously just rebuilding for the next 5 years, so they're nothing at the moment.
So the reason why I ask between the Cowboys and Chargers, they're not the only two teams that lost this weekend, of course, but I personally feel like they're similar in the way that they're coached, where their head coach isn't really he's not really a guru on either side of the ball. And it is my opinion that it is hard to be consistently good when your head coach is not just a mastermind on offense or defense. I'm not saying you have to be good. John Harbaugh has been winning with the Ravens for years, and he's not necessarily a maven on offense or defense. He's just a good coach who was a special teams coach when he got hired. I mean, he really was a special teams coordinator. I know it sounds easy to say, but Philip Rivers is also 37 years old. He'll be 38 next year. Mm-hmm. You think it's for sure that the Chargers have a better chance of coming back and replicating what they did this year rather than the Cowboys replicating what they did? It's interesting because
it is an interesting question.
When you just think about it, your brain will say Chargers are a better team, right?
Yeah.
But Rivers is old. He was healthy all year, and he usually stays healthy. I'm not saying he doesn't.
Okay, hear me out. If they get if they sign Teddy Bridgewater, are they still as good as they were this year?
Who's that?
The Chargers.
No.
Even regardless who replaces Rivers.
Rivers is really good. He's going to get MVP votes.
Oh, no question. But I'm just saying, who can replace Rivers to keep them a contender? That's what I'm asking.
No one that they'll try and sign because I don't even know if they'll go after a backup quarterback. But I mean, obviously they're not going to get Foles, or they're not going to get somebody like that. You know.
Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, it would be interesting to see what they could do because this is a free agent quarterback market that you can kind of lowball a lot of good quarterbacks on contracts.
I'll be kind of honest with you. Mm-hmm. I don't know if either one of these teams is back next year.
You don't see the Chargers at least contending?
They're a good team, but I think it's going to be tough for them to come back. I really do. You saw them have a relatively good, clean bill of health this year, and then they started getting hurt a little bit at the end. Melvin Gordon got hurt.
They still finished strong.
But look, this was the first year in 5 years that Keenan Allen was healthy. Mm-hmm. He finished the year healthy, which is crazy. He never does that. Rivers is old. Let's be honest. He's an old quarterback. And I don't trust Anthony Lynn.
He does. Anthony Lynn did cost them that game.
I don't trust
in the divisional
him.
round.
So
if they played the defense with linebackers instead of 7 DBs, they could have had a chance to win.
Let me tell you this: if the Chargers were coached by a guy like Doug Peterson, I don't think there'd be a problem with them getting back to the playoffs. But I don't trust Anthony Lynn being a good coach. I don't trust.
Okay, let's say one of the opening head coaches, instead of signing with one team, let's say Kingsbury signed with the Chargers. I'm just using them as an example.
I think that they wouldn't be good either.
Okay, I'm just using anyone else as an example.
It would be funny, though, because Kingsbury and Rivers would be basically the same age.
Jesus Christ. But I'm just using that because it's like,
Yeah.
what is the difference in reality? Like, who can you see in that spot that can take them back to where they should be, and maybe an AFC or
It's
even
just
Super Bowl
really hard.
contender?
It is my opinion, and I'll say it again. I think it's difficult if you're not a guru on offense or defense as a head coach. It's not
Now,
necessary.
technically, Lynn was an
He was
defensive
a
guy.
running backs coach for the Bills under Greg Roman, and he got hired to be the head coach and he's never called plays.
Yeah, and well, that's why I was saying he wasn't a guru of the. I was saying it sounded like I was saying he was a guru of the defense, but I was saying he was an anti-guru of the
Yes,
defense because he cost
exactly.
them the game.
All right. Well, it's an interesting discussion that we'll talk about more.
Can you just hear me one more thing?
Sure.
If anyone else, just anyone else, was coach for the Chargers, do you think they have a shot at beating the Patriots? And if they put linebackers in, is basically what I'm saying.
I think if they were coached by a number of people, I think if they were coached by maybe Mike Zimmer, if they were coached by Doug Peterson, Sean McVay.
Okay, well, those are very high caliber coaches. I'm saying maybe like someone that's
Not any of the new ones that got hired. Maybe Arians.
Oh, Arians without question.
Maybe Arians.
Arians and Rivers together would be deadly.
Yeah, maybe Arians. But not none of that. I'm not a big fan of a lot of these new hires, to be honest with you.
Arians is the only one I kind of like. I understand giving you guys opportunities. Like, I totally get that. Some of these are, like, Kitchens was a big question mark for me, and he was the biggest, actually, question mark for me. Is like, so you could have got any head coach for the Cleveland Browns that would have chomping at the bit to get that job. And you get Freddie Kitchens, who hasn't really had any resume regarding a head coaching position.
He said, if you don't wear orange and brown, you don't matter.
That sounds really racist.
So
I know what you mean, but
we
yeah.
should go to a break and come back. We'll talk about Jalen Hurts. We'll talk about Nick Bosa. And then, of course, we'll wrap it up in segment 4 with an interesting story. A very young person, a very young boy, got a scholarship to a major university. We'll talk about that later on.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC football podcast. We just finished talking about some coaches and where they belong in the Chargers or we said the Cowboys would end up back. And we said like Lynn, because of his anti-defensive mind, he cost them his team the game. And maybe if they had an offensive mind, more of an offensive-minded guy, because yes, you're right. We were talking about how he was the old running backs coach for Greg Roman. And Greg Roman's not the most highly touted offensive coordinator in the world. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, moving on. We are talking about Jalen Hurts, who's now not the not the Alabama quarterback. He is an Oklahoma quarterback.
Yes, he has transferred. So he will be, I'm assuming, the Oklahoma starter next season, replacing Kyler Murray, who replaced Baker Mayfield. So interesting move for Jalen Hurts. Do you think that this move is going to work out stylistically speaking, in terms of Oklahoma is going to have to adjust, right? Like their approach on offense, because Jalen Hurts is a different quarterback than Mayfield and Kyler.
He is different, but I think with the Oklahoma and the reputation for working with good quarterbacks, I think he'll be fine.
Lincoln Riley, one of the biggest names, one of the hottest coaching prospects in college right now.
He could have easily gotten a head coaching job if he wanted it.
Yep. And he will, I think, at some point. I think here in the next 2-3 years, we're going to hear about Lincoln Riley always being a candidate for a team. I actually think, here's an opinion real quick. I actually think that if the Cowboys don't do well next year, if Jason Garrett is let go, I see Jerry Jones making a run at Lincoln Riley. What do you think about that?
I can definitely see that.
So we'll see what happens, but Jalen Hurts, good move for him. He leaves Alabama. He's not going to play under a Tua there unless it's in a backup role.
Where else would you see him go? That's the question.
I have no idea. I really don't. I know there's people out there that follow college football, know the depth charts for all the major teams, but I don't really know what programs out there were looking for a quarterback.
I'm thinking about the top teams in the country. Clemson obviously doesn't. Let's just go by the list. Michigan, maybe, but I doubt they do.
Not Texas.
Yeah. USC, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably best for him to go to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It's probably a good move. All right, so let's talk about Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa might be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Nick Bosa is the brother of Joey Bosa. He's also the son of John Bosa. John Bosa, Nick and Joey's father, played pro football. He played for the Miami Dolphins for 3 seasons. He eventually had to retire due to injuries. He was injured for most of his career. He registered 7 sacks in 31 games. Again, he played 3 seasons, so that's 48 games. He played from 1987 to 1989. He was the 16th pick in the NFL draft. Did you know that? 1987, round 1, pick 16.
Yes, because I wasn't alive in 1987, so...
Yeah, but you know stuff about...
Yeah. Well, 1987 was not... let's see. That was after the Jerry Rice...
I got a question for you, though.
Mm-hmm.
John Bosa, injury-prone, didn't last in the NFL because of injuries. Joey Bosa, very good football player, but we know he's struggled staying healthy with the Chargers. Knowing this, does it make you, if you're an NFL team, a little concerned about drafting Nick Bosa, knowing that he missed his senior year because he was injured, and then he decided to sit out so he didn't get hurt again?
Mm-hmm.
What is your thoughts? Is this, maybe it's just a thing. Maybe it's just his genetic makeup, right? That they get injured. I don't know.
And for fun facts, if anyone about the 1987 draft real quick, that was the Rod Woodson draft as well as the Jerome Brown draft by Philadelphia before he tragically passed away. That was also the draft Jim Harbaugh was drafted.
Interesting.
And also the Nigerian Nightmare.
Oh, Christian Okoye?
Yeah. Beast.
All right, so...
Anyways, moving on.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Sorry, I thought that was interesting.
No, it is. Does this make you worried if you're an NFL team about drafting Nick Bosa? Because his family does have a history of getting injured, and he has a history of getting injured.
Yeah, well, that's why he left Ohio State in the first place. He was injured.
Right, so
that's a huge
Do you wonder about
mark.
taking him number 1?
I am. I've always been.
It is interesting because I think this isn't being talked about a lot. People just assume that he will be the number 1 pick. People assume that unless it's traded, if Arizona trades the pick, then maybe obviously that team will probably take a quarterback like Kyler Murray. I don't know, maybe, but it just seems like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm a little hesitant if my team were to draft Nick Bosa because that name triggers injury history in my head. A lot of people don't know that the Bosa father played in the NFL and got injured a lot.
I get that. It makes sense. If he got injured, didn't play very long, it makes sense you're forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
No disrespect intended, it's just the facts.
Do you think that's more of like a tiebreaker thing, though? Like if you have, let's say, Josh Allen and Nick Bosa, number 1 and number 2, but they're so close, like do you lean Allen because of the injury history with Bosa, or do you think that, no, I'm just going to take the better player, and I kind of think Bosa's a little bit better, so I'm going to take him? What do you think?
That's a very it's any draft pick is going to be a challenge to make, like, you're making the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout this entire season, everyone's saying, "Oh, Nick Bosa this, Nick Bosa that," and I haven't been on that train as hard as everybody else. But maybe it's time to see what he can do. You know what I mean? Maybe or go with Quinnen Williams.
Williams, Josh Allen, any one of those other prospects could be an option. All right. Well, I think we should go to a break. We come back. We have a couple more stories to wrap this up.
Yes, we do.
We will tell you who's going to be singing the national anthem at the Super Bowl, of course, and some bad news, of course, some sad news, and yes, like we talked about earlier, a young football player who has a scholarship to a major university. We'll talk about that when we return.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
Welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast, our final segment of the day. We just finished talking about Nick Bosa and his injury-prone family, and if this will take a risk in drafting him.
I wonder if their mother gets injured.
Let's not bring in his mother into this. I think we should leave that out.
I'm just wondering, or another family member. Okay. So now what? I think we should talk about Marquise Goodwin.
Yes.
Terrible tragedy again for the Goodwin family. As many know, him and his wife suffered tragedy last year when Marquise Goodwin's pregnant wife lost the baby during pregnancy. He ended up playing that same day against New York Giants, scoring a long touchdown. Very emotional. We later found out, as fans of the NFL, found out that there was a lot more going on that day than just playing the New York Giants. And more sad news for the Goodwin family, as they have lost twins this year, back in November. So another devastating, it's just been a devastating 12, 13, 14 months for this family. Marquise Goodwin, I'm not sure that many people are familiar with him, but he's one of the good guys in the NFL. Very humble. I mean, listen to the man talk. He talks about his history, the way that he met his wife. We're talking about a guy who's been an Olympic athlete for this country. Very humble upbringing. A guy who's dealt with a lot of just ups and downs in his life. So our thoughts go out to him, NFL and football fans in general. I think everyone can kind of get behind that message as we send our thoughts to the Goodwin family.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very tragic. And then there was the emotional moment, him scoring the touchdown last year after losing his son that day. Mm-hmm. And now this is just, I can't even imagine what they're going through.
Gladys Knight will be singing the national anthem at this year's Super Bowl. Jeff, I have to ask you. One of the most popular prop bets at the Super Bowl every year is the over or under for national anthem, the length of how long it will be from beginning to the last note. Is that something you bet on?
No, why would I bet on that?
It's probably the second most popular bet other than betting on the game itself.
That's a stupid bet. I don't know why I would even care.
But it's like betting the coin toss.
Not about the national, about the length. Yeah.
You will have more fun listening to the national anthem if you have money on the line. Let me tell you that. Anyways, would you bet the over or the under, though?
What's the minutes?
No. It doesn't matter.
Oh.
They do it. So the way they do it is they find that person singing the national anthem as many times as they have, whether it's 1 or 10 times, and then they figure out the average, and then they kind of adjust it based on, since it'll be the Super Bowl, they'll adjust it higher because they'll think maybe that singer will try and do a little bit more. They'll try and go a little bit above and beyond since it's their moment. But would you bet the over or the under?
Over.
Overs are always more fun. Like points, you always bet the over.
Yeah, but it's also the point of, like, it's the Super Bowl. It's going to be a big, like, event, a big spectacle type feel.
I have a question for you. How young is too young to give a kid a football scholarship?
How fun is it?
How young is too young to give a kid a football scholarship?
5 years old.
That's obviously really young, but anything higher than that?
I would say 10. I've seen, like, 15-year-olds get scholarships.
So Jim Harbaugh, you ever heard of him?
Yeah, we brought him up a couple of times.
He, obviously the head coach of Michigan, has given a 7th grader, a quarterback, a football scholarship. What do you say about that?
That is pretty darn cool. And Mike Kim must have been impressive.
Is that just way too young? How can you project at 12 years old if this kid is going to be good at 17?
What do you have to lose in the fact?
I don't know. I mean, don't they have to honor his scholarship?
You can revoke it.
Really?
I've seen people get their scholarships revoked because of injury or something like that.
Okay, but what if it's not due to injury?
I'm not entirely sure. And the guy doesn't have to accept the scholarship. He can go to another
school.
school.
But if he accepts a full ride scholarship, Michigan can't take it back if he's just not good, right? Like, it has to be like a medical thing.
Well, how many
right?
times has there been, like, a scholarship the kid hasn't really lived up to expectations? It's happened before.
Yeah, but the player doesn't get their scholarship taken away unless he does something like he gets arrested or something.
I know,
like
but
that.
it's just a risk they're willing to take, it feels like.
It is interesting. Do you know that David Sills is a wide receiver for West Virginia? He's going in the NFL draft. They say he might be a middle-round pick, like a 4th or 5th-round pick. He was an 8th grader who was given a scholarship by USC, ended up not being a quarterback, and then transferred to West Virginia and started playing wide receiver and ended up being their best wide receiver this year. Again, might be a middle-round pick. So that kind of shows you that you might be a quarterback in middle school, but you might end up playing a different position down the road, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're, 12 years old? Anything can happen.
I just feel like football is so risky. Like in basketball, I could see a kid like 11 or 12 getting a basketball scholarship because it's basketball. Like maybe the kid's already 6'6". Maybe he's already 6'5".
Can you imagine a 12-year-old at 6'6"?
I mean, it's happened, right?
Oh, yeah. Where's that high school kid? Maybe it's a middle school kid that's like 7'2". You know what I'm talking about? The kid, the whitest, the longest arms I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, so I mean, you can see that happening because somebody's so abnormal. Because basketball is a sport where there's a lot of abnormal human beings playing in terms
because
of
you
length.
have to average like 6'5" to be a basketball player.
Yeah, it just seems weird.
Well, when you see a kid that's like 5'9" compared to an average basketball type player, they're tiny. This guy, the kid's that's like 5'9" is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Remember Earl Boykins? How tall is he? Like 5'8", 5'7"?
Yeah,
and he looked like he was.
I've seen him play a few times in person. He definitely looks like he's that short.
Yeah, and I'm not short. I'm 5'8".
It's noticeable on the court, like when you're surrounded by 6'5", 6'8", 7-footers.
You look shrunk, absolutely. TV doesn't do it justice.
Yep. All right. Well, that's our show today. Join us tomorrow. We're going to break down the conference championships game. We're going to talk about.
Yeah.
We're going to give you not only our picks, but we're going to give you who we want, like what matchup we want to see versus which matchups
personal opinions.
We'll rank them. We'll rank 1 through 4. Which matchup is most intriguing in the Super Bowl to least intriguing in the Super Bowl?
All right.
I think we can all agree, though. these are 4 exciting teams. Like, these are 4. I know people say whatever about the Patriots, but they're exciting. They move the needle.
I mean, what have they really done in the last 10 years?
Yeah, nothing, right?
Yeah.
But we'll talk about it tomorrow. Again, join us, and we'll see you then.
Have a good day, everybody.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.